Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. This is the June 25th, 2026 Board of Directors meeting. I'm Travis Johnson. As a reminder, I want to ask all board members to, tonight when we have our conversation with the community who is out in large numbers to discuss a couple of issues, that we are here to listen. This is not a Q&A session. We're just here to listen to your concerns and take in information. I have a few announcements before we get started. The third Nature and Nosh event will take place at the Nature Center on Tuesday, June 30th at 5:30 p.m. The event will feature a pollinator-themed education program and food trucks will be on site. On July 3rd, we're going to have the Stars, Stripes, and Splashes pool party at the Hunterswood Pool. The event is free for members, $20 for non-members, and all kids under 3 will be free. And the Reston Butterfly Count will take place on Saturday, July 11th at the Nature Center, beginning at 9:30 a.m. And then one last note. This was pointed out to me by a member of the board, and I spoke to some staff about it today, and this is kind of exciting. We are at capacity for lifeguards, and that's a really big deal. Some of you may remember a time in the not too distant past that there was even conversation of closing pools because we couldn't staff them with lifeguards. And now we've got so many that we are at the limit. So I want to thank all of our staff, from our pool staff to Laura back there in the parks to Ashley in HR. Everybody's working together to make RA a better place, and I just want to thank them for that. All right, so that was our call to order. On item B, approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to approve the agenda as it appears in our materials.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
No, there was unanimous consent.
I'm sorry.
Seeking unanimous consent.
Is there opposition to that? I see none. Let's move forward. Item C, member comments. Brittany, we've got some folks signed up, I think.
Yes, first up we have Connie Harkey with Rescue Reston.
And just a note to everyone, if you're here representing yourself as an individual, you've got 3 minutes to speak, but if you're here representing an organization, you've got 5. So if you could just give us your name and your address, we'd appreciate it.
All right. Connie Harkey, President of Rescue Reston, the all-volunteer organization committed since 2012 to defending Reston's 2 open space 18-hole golf courses. We appreciate Reston Association standing with its members and continuing to support Land Use Resolution 6, maintaining its position that Reston is a 2-golf course community. RA stood with the community to defeat the 2018 effort to increase the PRC density cap. You should know that when the golf courses were formed, any density was transferred to other areas of Reston. Again, we stand together in our unwavering position of Reston as a 2 18-hole golf course planned community. The Fairfax County Planning Commissioners will hold a public hearing on September 23 at 7:30 p.m. We ask that President Johnson speak for the RA members at this hearing. We ask the public to hold the date and plan to wear yellow, as a strong presence in the audience makes an impact. We ask this board to direct staff to collaborate with the leadership of Rescue Reston and the Reston Citizens Association to strategize how best to inform the community of the issues and generate a groundswell of support. To the public listening, go to rescuereston.org and click on Preview the Potential Loss of Reston's Open Space. You will see 2 real current images and then move the sliders to see what new development might happen if we do nothing. If you go to the Reston National Golf Course website and click on their Evolution tab, you will see 2 very misleading renderings near the bottom of that page. The Warhorse NVR renderings show the existing Fairgreen and Golf Course View cluster their two-story townhomes as three-story condo buildings that are as tall or taller than NVR's planned double-stacked townhomes, known as 2/2s. Compare these deceptive renderings of townhomes to the actual drone image on the Rescue Reston site of some Fairgreen cluster homes. Home builder NVR Inc. is participating in this deceptive behavior along with Scott Plank of Baltimore-based Warhorse Cities. Unbelievably, NVR is headquartered right here in Reston. They should be ashamed to be advocating for development on either 18-hole golf course. We urge everyone to click on rescuereston.org's Take Action button to easily and quickly send a strong message to all Fairfax County Planning Commissioners, Chairman Jeff McKay, and the Writers District Supervisor to oppose this development. Share the message with friends no matter where they live in Fairfax County, as all planning commissioners will have a vote to recommend or not, and all 9 county supervisors plus the chairman will have the final vote. No development on Reston's open space golf courses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Raquel Mullenix. You've been asked to unmute.
She's on.
Hi, my name is Raquel Mullenix and my address is on file. This is my 3rd time advocating for the critical need for additional dedicated pickleball courts in Reston. I am here tonight because the communication has stalled, promises have been deferred, and a massive portion of our community is being left behind. We were promised that pickleball would be revisited after the Barton Hill decision over a year ago. Yet nothing has happened. Instead, over the past year, we've watched this board discuss at length batting cages at Brown's Chapel and incredibly expensive roofs and bubbles for swimming pools. We haven't seen a single price tag or proposal for pickleball. I researched previous board meetings. On February 13th, 2025, the issue of pickleball sitting requirements was brought up. It was deferred multiple times until 2 board members moved to include those requirements in the master plan process. Since then, the Parks Master Plan was renamed the Facilities Master Plan, but besides a name change, I could find no actual action. The board stated there would be progress by December 2025. We are well past that deadline, and the community has been met with total silence. Why isn't pickleball in the capital improvement plan? Meanwhile, Glade and Barton Hill were redone. Why is Lake Newport being redone before pickleball sitting and parks master planning has occurred? Many in the pickleball community have signed petitions and showed up for the sound study, which we passed, by the way. Most were under the impression that RA was actively pursuing pickleball solutions and were shocked to find out absolutely nothing is in the works. Pickleball is a sport that is inclusive of all ages and abilities. It remains the fastest growing sport in America. Reston is not only failing to keep up with the current demand, we are falling drastically behind on future demand. I know several residents who have completely stopped trying to play pickleball in Reston. They are developing community in other communities by playing in neighboring towns or joining gyms or private pickleball facilities. There are hundreds of Restonians who live in areas that are not a part of the RA, yet they pay for passes in order to use RA facilities. Don't we want to keep that revenue stream within RA? The beauty of Reston is our live, work, play motto. We are supposed to be able to do all three of those right here in town. Please turn your words into action and bring dedicated pickleball courts to more dedicated pickleball courts to Reston, and specifically the south side of town. This needs to be a part of the capital improvement plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brittany? Okay.
Next, we have Jerry Quinn. Please state your name and address for the record.
Well, thank you, Ms. Copeland, for being sure I was able to speak tonight. I'm Gerald Quinn. My address is 11066 Thrush Ridge Road, Lake Audubon Place, just a couple miles south of here. I'm here tonight to be sure that each of you has received a copy of the open letter to the Board of Directors regarding the renaming of Lake Audubon. If you've not received it, or Ms. Copeland, my understanding is that it's been distributed to the board. Great. Fantastic. Thank you. I wanted to just cover a few things about the letter to be sure that it's noted within the board the importance of why we disagree with the renaming of Lake Audubon. We absolutely do not support the name change. Lake Audubon was named with Reston's founding vision of honoring nature, wildlife, and environmental stewardship. I want to point out a few things that the Audubon Society has done for this community and for this country. They have hundreds of wildlife sanctuaries around the country. They protect millions of acres of critical bird habitat. They influence environmental and climate policy with scientific evidence and public support. And they engage hundreds of thousands of citizens around the country and right here in Reston to protect wildlife. The Audubon Society does great things for our birds, our wildlife, and I will say for sure, our community. The Audubon name carries weight in all that the Audubon Society has done. You know, changing the name would create unnecessary practical and civic complications. There's streets named Audubon. Our cluster is named Audubon, and it would be, our nonprofit would have to go through name changing, and there would be other second and third order effects in trying to get other swim teams and community organizations to change their names and for people to recognize that. Our preferred course of action, I don't just come here tonight just to say, doggone it, don't do something. We've come with a solution that we believe is quite reasonable and could save you a lot of time, all of us, in fact, a lot of time. Let's memorialize the name Lake Audubon and associate it with the Audubon Society. You, as a board, have immediate and unilateral authority to memorialize that memorandum and complete this discussion once and for all. Our small coalition, an informal coalition at this point, we definitely support public education around the naming of our lakes and other facilities in our community. We also recognize that the board has expressed that it might take months and months for you to decide on this. And we all, I think the board included, are not absolutely certain of your authority as a board to make this change. Is that my timer?
It is.
Okay. Let me conclude by saying we absolutely disagree with the renaming. We love the name Lake Audubon. And we want you to take that into account when this comes before the board. That's all I have tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
Next, we have Michelle Hudnall. Please state your name and address for the record. And
So I'm Michelle Hudnall. I am here as the board president for Whitney Park East, and I live at 2265 Chestnut Burr Court.
Could I just ask you to bring the microphone a little bit closer to you, please? Thank you very much.
oh, just slide it down.
You're not counting this against me, are you?
You're fine.
I got this time. Okay. So I'm not here to be against development. I'm here to support the 2007 SSPA process and the comprehensive plan as a paired governance system. The comp plan says what should happen on the land, and the SSPA process is the governance, the analysis of what happens, the traffic, the schools, the lighting. One's a destination, the other is the road that gets you there safely. The amendment vehicle that is being used skips this process by bypassing every checkpoint that protects the community. This is not really a parcel question. This is a process question. The same proposal has been filed twice and has failed twice through the proper process. This is a third attempt with a vehicle that requires none of the checkpoints. No school analysis, no noise, no public input. So this brings with it 3 precedents. The first one places 306 stacked townhouses, let's call them what they are, condos, on 14 acres. By the applicant's own filings, that's about 18 units, or 21 when you add the bonus units per acre. The comprehensive plan defines its density categories explicitly as medium density, single family, and it's 2 units per acre. The existing clusters around the golf course, mine's one of them, were built on about 10 to 11 units per cluster per acre, buffers with trees, green space. The proposal is twice that. Under the plan's definitions, that density belongs in the high density, multifamily category, mid-rise structures at the transit center. It's 2 miles away. This is the first precedent. TOD density bleeding into the residential areas that the comprehensive plan was set to protect. The second precedent, the proposal includes, 3-story driving ranges, lit up golf course for night golf, and a new restaurant. No traffic study, no schools, none of that, as we've already said. Fairfax County zoning staff confirmed in writing in February that the PRC amendment, the vehicle, unlike the SSPA, does not require any of those studies. So this is precedent number 2, bypass of the SSPA process and every study that protects our community. The third precedent is the governance process. If the vehicle succeeds, the precedent opens the doors for the remaining acres that are not part of this application, handing the current owner or the next owner entitlement to develop. It reaches Hidden Creek, every open space designation across Fairfax County, every commercial to residential reconversion, every parcel that the comprehensive plan said that the comprehensive plan says one thing and the developer wants to do something different. So this is precedence number 3. If Fairfax Planning needs to question the impact of the process change, Reston just happens to be the first stop. The amendment vehicle is the precedent. Everything else flows downstream. So why not compromise? Well, we can't compromise with this vehicle. It doesn't work. The comprehensive plan, the zoning ordinance, the SSPA process, they are not the obstacles to the development. They're the framework that makes the development work, and for Reston and for Fairfax County. Compromise through this vehicle ratifies future use of this vehicle. Once a PRC plan amendment can override the comprehensive plan and the open space designations, the mechanism is available for every parcel the plan protects. The process becomes negotiable, and the governance system the county built becomes advisory. So in closing, I think you published 86% of the members who responded to the survey support the engagement of RA with the county. The question before the board is not whether, it's how. I recommend option 2B with the budget cap to support Fairfax County in upholding the 2007 SSPA and comprehensive process as one system. Reston is named in the comprehensive plan and its own master plan resides in it. Reston Association has standing this board's predecessors built. So for the September 23rd meeting and every meeting after that, I ask you use that standing and that voice with precision. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Terry McCarthy. Please state your name and address for the record.
Terry McCarthy. I live at 11464 Links Drive on the 9th hole of Hidden Creek Golf Course. I have a unique perspective because I'm retired. I have 79 years of living, and I love sports. I love recreation. I served on the PRAC, and I have a real fondness for golf, for tennis, for pickleball, and there's quite a few people today here that want to broach the subject of pickleball. And that's my primary issue, but my premise will be, why do people want to live in Reston? It's because of Simon's concept. It's an all-encompassing community. You have beauty, you have serenity, and you have an environment that people love. And what promotes that? Well, one has been the board of directors. It's been led well. The other is the management group. It has hired a good management group to run this community. But there's some checks and balances that need to be addressed. One is, it's an obvious issue. I'm a court monitor. I work as a seasonal employee for Reston. And I observe the tennis and pickleball environment every day. And one thing you have to understand as board of directors, you have to understand that you want to promote the community and make it more appealing. And so what I suggest is you recognize that pickleball is underappreciated. There's a myth that it makes noise, okay? That really isn't true. After about 300 feet, the decibels are so insignificant you can't even hear it. So what happened at Barton Hills is somewhat disappointing. And I think that was a mistake of the board. It did not address recognize what the people want here. The people of Reston appreciate pickleball, and they want to see it developed. So that's your job to do that, to recognize what the people want. And let's just continue living in a community that we all appreciate and we all recognize the contributions, everybody here, to this wonderful place to live. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Alex Harden. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Alex Harden. I live on 2017 Chadds Ford Drive. And I'm here today to express my strong support in the development of additional dedicated pickleball courts. I decided to move to Reston in 2022 after spending considerable time researching other locations within Northern Virginia. What ultimately convinced me to move to Reston and make it my home was its vision. The Reston Association website states, Reston was founded on the vision of creating a place where people work, live, and play in harmony with nature and one another. That commitment to community, recreation, and quality of life is one of the primary reasons I moved to Reston. After retiring in February of 2025, I discovered the sport of pickleball, which gave me a purpose as a retiree. And I have been playing regularly ever since. What I quickly learned was that the demand for pickleball in Reston far exceeds the available courts. Although I frequently play during the day, evening and weekend play is not realistic because of the overcrowding and long wait times. As a result, My friends and I traveled to Chantilly, Vienna, Arlington, and even Annandale to play. In some cases, I even I paid to play in private facilities because there's simply not available courts in Reston. I know I'm not alone. Many residents routinely leave the community to participate on a recreational activity that continues to grow in popularity every year. Nationally, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America with over 24 million players, and it's expected to reach 40 million in 5 years. While many communities are expanding facilities to meet demands, Reston currently has 8 courts, only 4 dedicated, serving a community of over 64,000 residents. For a town of Reston's size and reputation, that is simply not enough to support the current and future participation. I understand that Barton Hill proposal successfully passed the sound test, but ultimately did not receive final approval. While I may not know all the factors involved in that decision, the lack of progress of additional courts has become a source of frustration for many residents on the south side of Reston. We recognize that balancing recreational needs with neighborhood concerns can be challenging, and we appreciate the work that goes into evaluating these projects. However, many of us feel that it's time to move beyond discussion and begin making meaningful progress towards a solution. Dedicated pickleball courts on the south side would not only address significant recreational needs, but they would also support community engagement, healthy lifestyles, and the very principle upon which Reston was founded. Residents should not have to leave Reston or pay to play to enjoy the nation's fastest growing sport. So my question to you all is simple. What is the current status of additional pickleball courts in Reston, and are they being considered for the south side? Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg McCandless, please state your name and address.
Good evening, Greg McCandless, 11760 Sunrise Valley Drive, right across the street. Come to you tonight on this beautiful Thursday, talk a little bit about the Reston National Golf Course. I believe tonight's discussion is one of the most important land use decisions our community has faced in years. This isn't simply about a golf course. It's about preserving the vision of Robert Simon had for Reston, a community that thoughtfully balances development with open space and the natural environment. The board packet I read for this evening's board meeting states that approximately 1,080 households could be directly impacted by the proposal through increased traffic, noise, lighting, and the loss of privacy. It also reminds us that Fairfax County's comprehensive plan specifically recommends that Reston National remain a golf course, and that our 2 existing golf courses remain as open space. The survey results are also telling. 86% of the respondents support Reston Association using its resources to advocate against the development. That's not a close call. That's a community speaking with strong and unified voice. This is a defining moment for our community and for the board. I respectfully ask you to reaffirm that Reston is a 2 golf course community, actively oppose this proposal, and commit the resources necessary to advocate for preserving this important open space. Because at the end of the day, open space is one of the reasons so many of us chose to call Reston home. Once you pave it over, you don't get a second chance. Future generations won't ask whether we build a few hundred more homes here. They'll ask whether we had the courage to protect one of Reston's defining open spaces when we still had the chance. Thank you for your time, your service, and your commitment to protecting the character of Reston.
Thank you very much.
Wendy Cummins. Please state your name and address for the record.
I need the
Hello.
short person, mic, please. All right. Hi, my name is Wendy Cummins. My address is on file with the association. And first, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, the board for volunteering their time to serve, all the staff working tirelessly behind the scenes, and all these members that showed up to support what's going on in the association. I decided to get up and speak tonight to support my fellow pickleball players and advocate for increasing pickleball in the association. All the reasons that have already been brought up by several other members, so I'm not going to reiterate those. What I did want to say is that it's fair to say I've listened to more board meetings than the average RA member. And increasing pickleball facilities in RA is not a new ask. When I moved here almost 4 years ago, it had already been in the works to convert a failing tennis courts in the south side. Anyways, it's now been around 2 years since the board went against its own committee, PROC's recommendation for a pickleball location on the south side. At the time, you said, the board said you were going to work on finding other sites and have still not done so. Yet I've heard the board spend countless hours talking about things such as land use and zoning items outside of RA that really aren't in your purview necessarily. So I guess I want to say if the board is saying they don't want to get involved in pickleball for their residents, don't insult our intelligence and just say that to the community, and instead of stringing along the members that have been patiently waiting for your action on the matter. If you are interested in listening to the members, which there are a lot out here obviously supporting pickleball, I would request that you, the board, the staff, as you are coming up with your draft budget, to include allocation of funds for permanent pickleball facilities in RA in the 2027 budget. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cora Rudolph. Please state your name and address for the record.
I am Cora Rudolph. I live at 2006 Cutwater Court. I've lived in my home here in Reston for over 40 years. Started out as a tennis player. Tennis, you played a couple of times a week. Pickleball is completely different. And I just want to say I wanted to support my pickleball community and say that we really do need more courts. They've already talked about the lack of availability. I live near the Lake Thoreau tennis courts, the Barton Hill courts. I drive by them frequently. They are often unused. So I really feel like pickleball needs some attention. So that's my spiel. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alan Nagin.
All right, we're fine.
Jan Carr. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Jan Karch. I live at 10827 Cross School Road here in Reston. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of additional pickleball courts here in South Reston. This is the third time I've been before this board discussing this issue. There were commitments made to us earlier. Actually, I have an email from November of 22 saying that courts had been approved south of Reston. And that decision was later rescinded, which is regretful. But pickleball adds a lot to the Reston community. It brings a sense of community. And if you go Thursday, Friday nights, the courts are absolutely full, as has been already pointed out. And people end up leaving or going to other places to play. I think that the board needs to pay some attention and look back at promises made. I understand the Barton Hill decision was changed, but at that meeting, which I attended, there was a commitment made to look for additional solutions. I recommend that the board take a look at what those additional solutions might be and come up with some answers for the rest of the community, or for the pickleball playing community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tina Dudley. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tina Dudley. I'm at 10972 Granby Court in Barton Hill, so it was very sad to hear about the whole Barton Hill decision. First of all, I love Reston. Y'all are doing great. It's an amazing place to live. Feel very grateful on a daily basis that I get to be here. I play at Ottoman almost every day. There are 4 dedicated courts there, which are beautiful. There are also 4 courts on tennis courts with tennis priority. I'd like to see those become dedicated courts when that area next needs to be resurfaced, because there are so many other places to play tennis. And speaking of that, there are 11 places to play tennis in Reston, and in the U.S., there are almost as many pickleball players as there are tennis players. It's 24 million to 27 million, and it sounds like it's supposed to be growing in the next 5 years. And so I'm hoping that we can look at the future and include some more pickleball courts in that capital plan everyone's talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in the room this evening who would like to make a member comment? Please come up to the podium. State your name and address for the record.
My name is John Pinkman, 2188 Golf Course Drive. And I think we should, if we're going to change the name of Lake Audubon, we ought to change the name to Lake Deja Vu, because I've been in town 46 years, and there's some things that just keep coming up, and coming up that are never resolved. Specifically, the golf course issue. Aren't, as a board, I know I don't recognize some of your faces, but I've been here a long time. Aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of, we went to court 10 some odd years ago. The case was summary judged, and here we are again, same old, same old. Now, what I'd like to know is what mechanism you use to evaluate what's going on in the golf course, particularly Reston National. I sit there every day. We've been in our house on the first fairway for 34 years. I can tell you that there is a more likely than not, red deference to John, more likely than not, there is an organized effort to run that golf course into the ground. Yeah. And I think you need to understand what's going on there. A normal golf course of that size requires a minimum of 20 people. There are currently 6 or 7 people maintaining it. There are a lot of promises made. The staff, we've had 3, or they have had 3 general managers in the past year and a half, each, with all due respect, having less experience than the one that's before them, and more likely than not, their salary has been cut as well. So the concept of saying, well, we really need to sell this property because it needs to be repaired. Well, I have a car that's 150,000 miles on it, and I just didn't take care of it. I didn't change the oil, didn't change the tires. I didn't do anything. So I got to find somebody to make that right. because it's not my fault. Now, that's the same analogy that Looney is using in that area. And, of course, Mr. Looney would pave over anything, including his mother's grave, if there was 2 billable hours of time in it. But I don't know how you're going to, I think you need to really look into some of these things that are happening right under our nose. And if there's any way I can be of help, as usual, I'm here to help. Now, I did take a vacation because of open heart surgery, but I know between Mr. Plank and Mr. Looney and Mr. Clemente, they've done their best to try to make sure I didn't come out of that surgery. But I guarantee you, I'm standing here and ready to go again. So, thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else this evening? Ms. Bitzer, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record.
I think I have it low enough. Julie Bitzer, 2020 Peppermint Court, Reston, Virginia. I'm here to speak on the Reston National owner's request, but first I want to proclaim my avid endorsement of support for more pickleball court options. As chair of the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee, we have been trying to promote this idea for many, many years. And I also wish to state my desire for continued use of the name Audubon. So thank you very much. Okay, so back to why I'm here. I understand there was a survey. I didn't ever see the survey question pop up into my stuff, but okay. You put out a survey. Should it be a priority? I don't even know what you meant to ask when you said, should it be a priority? In my mind, we already in RA prioritize land use. We have a staff member that is focused on land use. Their job is to advise, support, review, analyze, and provide information to the board to take a position. The board took a position on the golf courses. No more development. It's open space or a golf course. Take it or leave it. You don't want to do that? Go find a different place to invest your money. What I really feel that the RA board ought to be doing is working in partnership with our district supervisor, Walter Alcorn, our planning commissioner, John Carter. They are charged with representing our interest, our Reston community's interest. And that includes the RA's position on the golf courses. I implore the RA board to work in partnership, in concert, in joint step with our district supervisor, the community organizations like Reston Citizens Association, Rescue Reston. Let's let the process work for us. Let's let our government work for us. Let's be in a relationship, have the communications with those organizations that are funded by taxpayer dollars to do that for us. So let's use the investment we have in place. Please define to me then, what did you mean by prioritize? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else in the room this evening?
You take a non-resident named Cass.
I'm sorry, this is member comments only. Is there anyone else on Zoom this evening who would like to make a member comment? Please raise your hand by using the React feature on Zoom on the lower half of your screen.
Okay, I see no more. Thank you very much, Brittany. Thank you to the folks who came out. She's not a member. Ma'am, just to let you know, we would typically, we obviously let our members speak, but this time is dedicated to just members of the Reston Association. And I apologize. Moving on to item D, the Ruston National Golf Course discussion. Pete, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief in my remarks. I know there's many questions and comments the board members would like to make tonight. Just as a reminder to the board and the members here this evening, this topic was added to the agenda at the last board meeting in June to hear from the membership related to their interest in RA advocacy against the proposed golf course development. I think we can say with confidence tonight that we've heard from our membership, both here in the room and online. Just to update some of the numbers that were published in the board materials last week, we've received responses from over 600 members, 91% of those members saying that RA should be involved in anti-golf course development advocacy. We did hear from a small group that supports some change on the golf course, and I thought it was worth acknowledging that 9% of the population that responded to the survey was on the other side of that argument. I thought it might also be helpful as we move through our conversation tonight just to talk about the recommendations that staff made regarding the conversation tonight. I'll be brief and then I'll turn it back over. So our first recommendation was to follow the current land use resolutions recommending that Reston maintains its position that we're a two golf course community. We then said that we could take one of two positions. The association can monitor the situation pending, the association can monitor the situation pending county resolution and the developer's applications. We can also take an advocacy position against the proposed development. There was also a recommendation about should we discuss budget or resources. The last thing I'll add before I turn it back over, because we've heard a little bit tonight about how the association tracks and follows these items. We did hear from our land use planner, shout out to Natalie who's sitting in the back. We follow all the developments regarding the golf course. So when this public hearing, for example, was moved from November to September, we knew about it in the first 2 days that happened. We heard tonight about working with our supervisor. President Johnson and I speak to the supervisor about the golf course once a month when we meet with him to hear about all the news and updates. So from a staff perspective, from an association perspective, this is an important topic to us, and we do follow the topic as closely as we can to keep our board members informed. So from a staff perspective, I think that's where we are tonight. Happy to turn it back over.
Thanks, Pete. And just for the sake of governance meeting order, I just want to keep us on point here. The topic of the evening is whether or not we're going to whether or not we're going to focus our efforts on advocacy for the golf course. I don't want us to get into any other land use issues. I think this is, with regards to the golf course, I think this is a big enough issue for the board for this evening. Director Farrell.
Mr. President, I have circulated the draft of a outline of a motion or a document, and I'm going to read it for the benefit of those who haven't seen it yet. Mr. President, the current Resolution 6 is inadequate to the present situation, and RA needs to say much more. I move that the board direct staff to prepare a document for submission to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors about the pending Reston National Golf Course zoning applications to be presented for approval by the RA board at the next board meeting. These thoughts are not intended to be all-inclusive, but rather a starting point for the staff to begin their drafting. First, Reston National Golf Course must be maintained as a 6,800-yard par 71 championship golf course with no dwelling units on the 168 acres of the course. 2, that no lights be installed on the Reston National Golf Course. 3, that no top course style multi-story driving range be installed on the Reston National Golf Course. 4, that no new building be built adjacent to existing residential RA members' homes. RA members' homes. That's the building you see in the drawings that's referred to as the back 9 grill. 5, that the Reston National Golf Course, 168 acres, substantially contributes to the value of the existing homes of RA members. 6, that preservation of the property values of its members is a core purpose of the association. 7, that the RA trails running through Reston National Golf Course substantially contribute to the health and well-being of the RA members beyond those that own abutting residences. 8, that unique among Fairfax zoning districts, The PRC district requires that Reston development must conform to the provisions of the current Reston master plan. 9, that any change from the commercial residential land designation for the Reston National Golf Course in the current master plan requires an amendment to the Reston National, requires an amendment to the Reston master plan, which the pending applications do not seek. The foregoing is not intended to be exhaustive, and I invite my fellow board members to wordsmith it to their heart's content between tonight and our next board meeting. I also invite my fellow RA members to offer their suggestions. The object tonight is to start drafting a document, a letter, or resolution, whichever, that we will provide to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors prior to the public hearings. And I need a second.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Discussion. Anyone on? Director Santa?
Thank you. Thank you to everybody that's here. Thank you to the 638 people that gave comments. I was the one that asked for the question because I wanted the membership input, because when somebody says, does the association have the backing when we do something? Well, here's a proof. Like, we need this. So I know the question was not perfect, but this is important to the record, to show to anybody that the membership is fully engaged and fully aware. So that was the reasoning for that, and I wanted to explain myself. But I do believe that this should be a 2 golf course community. I do believe that people moved here with the expectation that their backyard was going to remain what they see today, not what could be tomorrow. For that, you can go move somewhere else if you don't like my position. But the most important thing is that I think everyone here has a responsibility to get more people informed and more people to show up to this meeting and to the county meeting, because we need full bullying of these developers so that they know they don't have a fighting chance.
Director Perry?
So I have a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, I continue to support the fact that we have 2 golf courses in Reston. Second, I did read through Director Farrell's list of thoughts to submit to the county. There may be 1 or 2 that I would work on, change, not agree with. But in general, overall, I have no issue with what I saw, and I think that as a group, we can certainly, between staff and board members, come forth with something by the next board meeting to submit on the behalf of Reston Association and its members. There are a couple things. Rescue Reston has been involved for a very long time. It is clear from what we've heard that members are interested, whether they're on the yes side or the no side, they're interested. So I want to be very cautious that moving forward of, remind me how we exactly worded it, with advocation, et cetera, that does not give us carte blanche to spend as much money as possible on attorneys for what ifs. I don't think that is what our membership is asking of us at this time. I want to be very clear that we should be sharing information with our members. I will agree with our esteemed attorney that we should not share attorney-client privileged matter, but there is definitely information that we get that we should be sharing with our members. Because the reality is, the members who live on the golf courses, while we can have their back and we can speak as a group supporting them as a whole, they will be the ones in the fight should that fight come. Rescue Reston will be in that fight should that fight come. And I don't think it's fair for us to go, we're going to spend your money, but we're not going to tell you anything. I don't think that's right. I haven't thought that's right for years now. And I want to be very clear on that piece. As far as moving forward, let's continue monitoring things, let's continue speaking with the
Excuse me, Dr.
county.
Perry, I'm going to just ask you to keep it on the actual motion.
I think that Director Farrell is on the right path at the moment with this particular thing.
High praise indeed. All right. Director Juszczyk, I'm not calling you out, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that the opportunity is open for you to speak if you'd like to.
I would just briefly say that I agree that we need to advocate for the golf courses, but want to, from a procedural standpoint, say we are not following our resolutions related to how we determine how we're going to advocate. So I will continue, although I appreciate the motion and agree with its language, I will continue to abstain on any land use motion until this board gets its act together and decides how we're going to do land use overall in Ruston. Thank you.
Dr. Lindsay.
I would just like to thank everyone who came out in support of the golf course and everyone online who's hearing this. I believe Ruston should remain a 2 golf course community and look forward to working with everyone on wordsmithing this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Dr. Cannon.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who took the time to participate and to come out and speak tonight. It is incredibly helpful to have community support as we are figuring out a path forward as a board. And so thank you, Vice President Santa, also for pushing for this survey. I think it was great participation in the short time that we had it available. And I also look forward to wordsmithing Director Farrell's motion.
All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Lusk, go ahead.
One clarifying question for Director Farrell. The next board meeting is June 30th. So just to be clear, we're talking about June 30th.
I'm hoping that the staff can give us a draft to look at. I don't expect us to act on June 30th. It's a special meeting. And I'm not looking to add it to the notice of the meeting. But if we can have it on June 30th, and then we can act on it at the meeting in July. If we wait to July, we don't have another meeting till the end of August, and that crunches us. So that when I said next meeting, I meant the June 30 meeting, to have a draft to us by then.
And I'm going to ask you, we're good? Okay. All right, so we're ready to take a vote. All in favor? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor, and against? Abstaining?
Aye.
Thank you.
Did Matt drop off? He was online.
I don't see him.
Did Mullenix drop off?
That was for Raquel.
Oh,
Yeah. All right, 601.
I have a motion.
Okay, go ahead, following motion.
I move that the board direct staff to engage in a transparent information sharing process with recognized community organizations, including Rescue Reston and the Citizens Association, regarding any golf course activity advocacy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Comments? Could you bring a mic?
Thank you. Would the maker of the motion modify it or accept a modification such that we don't disclose attorney-client privilege?
Well, it's part of our fiduciary duty, so.
Well, but I'm saying we do need to preserve attorney-client privilege. I thought the motion was broader than that.
The board knows our fiduciary duty. I mean, that's why they're hired. It's part of their contract. The transparent information sharing, I think we can all agree what that means. I know, Peter, do you need more clarity or good?
Good.
But you can amend it.
I'd ask unanimous consent to add the words that is not subject to attorney-client privilege to the disclosure.
I see no objection. Unless there is.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Please.
Is your intent with that motion to make sure that everything is discussed with attorneys so that every information we get is attorney-client privilege?
I'm sorry, let's keep order in the room,
And
please.
I'm not trying to be rude to you, Director Farrell. I just, as we all know, anytime an attorney says yes, all of a sudden it's privileged.
Mr. President, I anticipate that this conversation, to the extent that we have conversation in executive session, they will be limited to attorney advice. And all I'm trying to make it clear is no one should have an expectation, no member should have an expectation that the advice that we get from our counsel is going to be disclosed. That's all I'm trying to get to. So I'm not sure if Director Perry is voicing an objection. If she is, then I'll make it a motion. I would hope I wouldn't have to.
Is that an objection, Director Perry?
I object.
There's an objection.
Moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Motion is made and seconded. Further discussion or comment?
I know how this body, can I speak to them?
Please.
To why? I know my fiduciary duty. I know we've all taken our fiduciary training, thanks to Mr. Champ over here, who does an excellent job. I also do know how attorney-client privilege can be weaponized. And there are certain things that this membership is paying for us to be informed, but yet the people who are most affected in their backyard can't even have a glimpse of even what that could be. So respectfully, I disagree because if not everything can be weaponized. And I just have a feeling that it'll turn into that.
My only question for this is for Director Santa, if you could clarify for us what you meant by transparent, if you can just define the word for us, because I think that would clarify that.
I think that if Mr. Pinkman came, or Rescue Reston, or Julie, or anybody from the community asked Peter a question, or Tony, they could be a little bit generic and give the premise of something. I'm not saying give statutes, I'm not saying give our legal analysis, but I'm just saying there are some things that you can provide to the community to be better informed, to do their own advocacy. And I just know how this board works.
And Director Perry?
So I tend to find that there is a very fine line, and I recognize that. And I think that too often we stay on the conservative side of the line by not sharing information with our members. I do recognize that if we are receiving advice from council on how we should proceed as an organization, there is, that needs to remain, because again, there is that whole, you don't want to show all your cards all the time. And I do recognize that. I believe Director Santa recognizes that also. I also recognize that should any member reach out to Tony with questions, he probably wouldn't answer them. And that's acceptable. I mean, that's just how he does his job. And so I wanted to just clarify. But like if they reach out to Peter, I do want Peter to feel comfortable with not just we're against a golf course, because that's what we've been saying for years. That hasn't changed. But we should be providing additional input, additional thoughts, additional information that is shared with us that we can share with the community. And I think that at times we go into executive session to discuss these things with the attorney, which is absolutely, completely understandable and allowed and all of that good stuff. But there is information that we could share that we don't, and we hide behind attorney-client privilege. That is my concern. So I have no problem with drawing a fine line. I just want to make sure that that fine line is clearly defined.
Mr. Champ.
So a couple thoughts.
Mr. President,
One,
when he's done.
to respond to Director Santa's point about me answering questions, I can't. Rules of professional conduct say that I'm only allowed to give legal advice to my clients, and while I work for the membership as a whole, my client is the organization, Reston Association. So just putting that out there. The second thing, the privilege attaches when the advice is furnished. You can't give a blanket waiver of attorney-client privilege on something that's speculative. So in terms of legal things, moving forward, if I have legal advice that you want shared, it's still going to be a decision of this body. The privilege lays with the board. And the privilege attaches at the time that the advice or work product is furnished.
Director Farrell.
I appreciate Director Santa and Director Perry's impulse. Whatever we tell the membership, we are telling our opponent. And I'm not interested in letting our opponent know what our attorney is thinking. And once that information is out, it goes around the world 4 times in a blink of an eye. That puts our association and our membership's interest at a distinct disadvantage. I know, having experienced it physically, that there's frustration on the part of some members that we don't disclose everything we're told. But if we did that, we would be disclosing it to promoters of the casino, promoters of redevelopment of the golf course, and other circumstances. I think that we need to carefully husband the advice we get from our council. And I think it is reckless to not make it clear that what we hear from our general counsel or what we hear from special counsel is not going to be shared with the general membership.
All right. Any further questions or comments? Or just Director Cannon.
Can I just, Vice President Santa, can you provide some clarifying information on what you're envisioning in terms of disclosure? Because I think that might help.
Hypothetically, let's just say the membership wanted to ask our CEO, how many properties are actually affected? There's a number already on the record. However, let's just say that some legal analysis says, hypothetically, X amount is actually covered. I think the membership would want to know, hey, there's actually more properties impacted, not less, if that material existed. That's the type, very simple observation.
Mr. Champ, you had some feedback?
That's exactly the problem.
The board as a whole has a right to release that information. Again, the privilege lies with the client. However, intend to be bound by that information. That means if there's a misrepresentation, maybe a typo or something like that, you're making what's called a potential statement against interest. That's why, generally speaking, when you're involved in a potential litigation or pending litigation, out of a room of 10 lawyers, 10 are going to tell the clients, don't say a word. Let the lawyers do the talking. Because the lawyers have a shroud that they're really not bound by situations like that. If the principal makes a statement, the principal can have that statement used against them. So, do you want to furnish general information like, here's where you can find the applications? Sure, that's a matter of public record. Do you want to furnish work product that your attorney has done that may be potentially, to John's point, a launching point for the other side to figure out counter arguments? My advice is probably no. And ultimately, RA is the biggest kid in the room, so RA is going to be the one that's going to, be taken the most seriously by the developers. Nothing against our friends in the community, but where the money lies is where is going to be the biggest threat to the developers, and RA has the bigger pockets. So they're going to look very hard at the statements from RA and look at that as the principal arguments to overwhelm.
But RA doesn't have any stand.
I'm sorry, no, there's no.
Yes, we do.
Director Farrell, we're not having Q&A with the audience. I understand, sir.
We've done that.
We're staying on the motion, sir. And
misinformation
from the
has
audience, we're going to
been
keep it quiet,
circulated.
please. Thanks very much.
Enough of that.
Director Cannon.
Thank you, President Johnson. Thank you. I recognize this is a really important issue to the community, right? Like, we are very fundamentally a 2 golf course community, and that is something we have seen incredible support for protecting. I want to make sure that we are being transparent custodians of the resources that we're in charge of and clearly communicating to our membership. But part of being good custodians is also making sure that we are careful in protecting RA's interests with the information we're disclosing. We need to make sure that we are not going to jeopardize our case, our work that we're doing with anything that we're disclosing. So I would suggest that maybe a path forward is, once we've received briefings, making a decision as a board on what we want to release publicly as a part of our executive session briefings.
That's fine.
And then we're still finding that place where we're coming together and making a decision on what we can transparently release, but we're also receiving advice and being careful to preserve our interests.
Okay. Before we go on, this is the twice that I've had to say something about the audience. I prefer that we not have any more outbursts from the audience or from the board. Thank you. Director Perry.
Again, I have no issue with making sure that that fine line is drawn. I have no issue with making the decision in real time each meeting. I do want to make it very clear to our membership that at this point in time and not in any foreseeable future are we expecting litigation from RA on this matter. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen, but there's been some words said tonight that make it sound like we're preparing for litigation, and I just want to be very clear, like, that's not where we're at
Director
as a
Perry,
group.
I'm going to pull us back. That's not relevant to this particular motion.
It may not be relevant, but it is relevant to our members.
Then we'll do another motion in which that can be brought up. Staying on target. Okay. Further discussion on Director Santa's motion?
It's on the amendment.
That's right. Thank you. All in favor to John's amendment to the amendment, well, to the new motion?
We're voting on this.
On the amendment to John, to add John's language to your motion. Okay. All in favor? 1, 2. Director Jishuk, I saw you go.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm an aye for yes.
Thank you. That's 3 in favor. Against? 1, 2. Against? And then abstaining. 1, 2 abstentions.
Motion fails.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the original motion. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in favor, against? 1 against, and abstaining.
Yes.
Okay, that's 5-1-1. The motion passes. Are there any further motions from the floor?
I think people look confused. You should explain what just happened.
Is there confusion? What just happened, Director Santa asked for a motion that would allow for transparent conversation between staff, community organizations, and members of the community. That motion passed by a vote of 5 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstention. All right. I think we're done with this topic.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move the unanimous consent to adopt the consent calendar.
Objections? I see none. All right. Volunteer interviews.
May I ask a question about that?
I'm sorry, just a sec. Yeah, Kim?
Resolution 8 needs to be removed from the consent calendar.
It's too late now. We've just passed it.
That
Director
one
Farrell,
piece?
can we have a vote that we need to take, if you're going to miss it.
Move to rescind the motion to approve the consent calendar.
Say again?
Move to rescind.
Unanimous consent.
Unanimous consent to rescind a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there objection?
No.
I see none. Okay.
Move to approve the consent calendar for A and B, not including item C.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous of everyone in the room. Now we're on to volunteer interviews. Brittany, where are we with that?
Yeah, it was two. Karen Antoine's.
She is back for another.
Right, but we voted on it.
So,
Brittany, can you explain?
Ms. Anton previously interviewed for the chair or for the vice chair position of the Covenants Committee, and she forgot to include that she was also seeking reappointment for her membership. And so this application is just to seek reappointment for her membership.
And she's not here for interviews.
But didn't we discuss last time she was moving to the Tall Oak, like she moved to the Tall Oaks?
We discussed it, but we
That's
didn't
the
vote
position
on it.
that she's applying for the Lake Ann Tall Oaks.
Last time was for vice president of Covenants.
Oh, I thought it was for both.
No. Yeah.
No, Jesse Williams was appointed to the Hunters Woods
I
position,
knew
which she
that.
is no
Right.
longer.
Okay.
That's the seat she gave up.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have to, can I just make a motion?
We've got no interviews, so if you'd like to just make the motion, feel free.
Hold on, I gotta find it. Move to approve Karen Anton for the position of member to the Covenants Committee. Do we need to say which one?
From Tall Oak.
For the Lake Ann Tall Oaks
Second.
seat.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
I was going to speak to the motion. Mr. President, for the same reason I gave last time, I'm going to oppose this appointment.
Thank you. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Aye.
6 in favor, against, 1 against. All right. I am going to ask that I'm not going to ask. We're going to take a break. It is now 7:48. So if we can come back at 8 o'clock, I'd appreciate it. All right. Welcome back from our break. I'm going to get us started with item G on the agenda, the CEO update. Mr. Lusk.
Thank you, Mr. President. There were various updates in the CEO update this go-around. I'd like to make a point of a few and answer any questions. For the past few years, we've talked at length about a tennis court reservation system. I'm excited to announce that the recreation staff will be starting a pilot program in July. Staff will then report on the progress of that program during the budget season in the fall, and then hopefully make a recommendation for the future. At the last meeting, we committed to reporting on pool usage throughout the year. We're excited to say that we're seeing an uptick in use year over year. We've seen about 750 more pool visits from this time last year, which is great news. The president stole my thunder earlier, but it is important to, I think, reiterate that we are closed for lifeguard hiring for the year. This is a new phenomenon, mostly attributed to our HR and recreation team collaboration. I'd also like to talk a little bit about our recreation passes. We've seen around 2,000 more member passes activated this year for a total of 29,000 member passes year to date. To track us back to 2023, when member passes were not included in the assessment, we're up 14,000 passes from that time, which is really great news for the membership. On land use items, I know we just spent a lot of time on the golf course, but we are tracking other items. And if the board will recall, we're holding a land use hearing at 6 p.m. for the July meeting, and we will have the Lake Fairfax and Michael Faraday developments here to present that night. We've also heard a lot recently about cluster resources and having access to cluster resources. In the CEO update, there was a link to the Cluster Resources Hub on the website. So I wanted to just call out that we do have a hub on our website with lots of resources for cluster members. And then also included in the CEO update was the quarterly cluster update. Cam is here to answer any questions related to that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Director Perry.
Thank you for all the good news, good information. I did have a question regarding the, let me see the tennis reservation system pilot. Sure. I recognize it hasn't rolled out to its fullest extent yet, but is this going to just be for tennis? How are we handling? I know one of the issues that the pickleball players often refer to is the fact that they'll be playing pickleball and a tennis person will come in and kick them off because they don't want them playing pickleball.
Yep.
But, so I'm just curious how this fits into that.
It's a great question. So we're going to start with tennis. We know that our pickleball friends have a way that they like to reserve courts and the way they stack their paddles and all of those things. So we're gonna stay with that for now. Also, the pilot is going to start at Newbridge and North Hills, so we're not going to touch the Autumnwood courts for the time being. I'd like to see where we are in the fall and then come back with a longer term plan.
Director Santa.
This is adjacent to what's on page 12 on e-bikes. Yeah, this is in relation to what's on page 12 regarding e-bikes. I just wanted to say thank you for being proactive and monitoring, because there is active statewide task force that are being put together to evaluate the issue. So whenever that starts moving and tracking, I would welcome that the association either implement a version of what is said, because members have been complaining about inappropriate riding at very fast speeds on the trail. So I just want to say that. And then kudos to the communications team for the excellent job on the membership survey regarding the golf course. For a quick turnaround, I think it was well done. It accomplished its mission, so thank you.
Can I ask one question as tag on to Director Santa? On the scooters and e-bikes, I would put out there that maybe RA should look into doing some bike safety courses at no fee. The reason I say that is there have been a number of e-bike accidents from the kids actually riding in the roads. So they're not on the trails. And so maybe that would be a nice service for our membership at some point in the future, sooner rather than later, if that's doable.
Dr. Cannon.
Just wanted to say thank you so much for highlighting the cluster resources
Of
in
course.
the update and the packet. And I know that my cluster is looking forward to scheduling a show and tell this summer. So thank you.
Anyone else from the board with questions for Mr. Lusk? All right, I hear none. Moving on to the CFO update. Mr. Broom, your turn.
Thank you. Good evening. The slides were in the packet, and I did a recording, but I'll hit a couple highlights and then take any questions. The numbers are looking good so far. We will see our first forecast next month, so we haven't done an initial forecast yet for the year. But year-to-date, against the budget, we're pretty much right on track on revenue, and we're running a little bit under on expenses, over $600K under on expenses due to staffing vacancies. Our people costs are running low, and some of our other costs are also running low. I think a lot of those other costs will kind of catch up as we move throughout the year, but we are a little over $600K under budget for expenses thus far, and that's on the operating expense side. We're also doing well on the capital side. We had some favorable project variances where projects are coming in under budget, so that's a little over $400K under budget on the capital side. And also of note is we've already spent over $2 million in capital this year, which is a good thing. It's more than we spent all last year, over 12 months. We spent more than that in 5 months of this year. If you recall, we had a number of carry forward projects, and we've been completing those as well as 2026 projects and making good progress on our capital. And as I mentioned, coming in under budget. So cash is still in a good place, and all the numbers looking good at this point. And as I mentioned, we'll have a forecast next month to look at where we're projecting to end the year at. But happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Broom?
Great job.
No questions. Thank you very much. All right. Just a second. Let me catch up here with my
Annual plan.
annual
Can
plan. Thank you very
I
much.
ask one question of Mr. Vroom?
Please.
So, and this relates to the fact of all the things you've been doing to look at the future and look at the past. We had a board motion that by July of this year, we were going to get some information on what quarterly payments might look like.
Yep.
Will that be coming?
Yep, it's on the draft agenda for the July meeting, so planning to
Okay.
brief that in the July 23rd
Okay,
meeting.
I just wanted to make sure we were on track with that, given where we are. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Item I, annual plan adoption. Mr. Lusk.
Mr. President, I'm excited to present the final annual plan for the 26-27 board year. This plan is a direct result of the May 12th annual planning session that we held here last month. A few items to note, and then I'll open it up for questions. We received a few requests in that meeting. The first one was to add the 24 to 26 strategic plan in the annual plan. That's been completed. It was requested that items that may have budget implications be included. That has been completed. It was requested that the status of each item be included in the quarterly reporting. That has been completed. It was also requested that KPIs be included. They were included in tonight's document. The annual plan working group was formed in that meeting and met on the annual plan and gave their blessing. I've also met with several board members separately to discuss the annual plan, and I feel like we're in a place for adoption tonight. Lastly, a board agenda outlook has been included that we've been struggling as a team to pull together over the last few years. That board agenda outlook is included on the board SharePoint site, available for viewing at any time, and was included in tonight's materials. I believe that now we're in a place to eliminate any additional lists or backlogs or other tasks that we've been tracking over the last few years and can work off of one agenda outlook. So I'm hoping to adopt the plan this evening. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to adopt the 26-27 annual plan as published in our materials.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Why do I not hear it when you say that? I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Was there any objection? I see none.
Woo-hoo! Can I ask a question? I don't get to vote.
I knew that was coming.
No, absolutely. You made your Robert's Rules authorized woo-hoo. I appreciate that. Thank you.
If that's an objection,
I think that's an objection.
I'll move the adoption of the annual plan.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Director Jeschuk, I'm going to go to you first.
I don't have any objection. My woohoo was because we weren't voting. I was not
What?
an objection. It was a woohoo. I'm glad we have done this. This is wonderful.
I'm outraged. Okay, because now we have a motion on the
Now we
floor.
have a motion.
Then maybe it'll be unanimous. All in favor of adopting the annual plan?
Aye,
It's unanimous.
wholeheartedly.
Thank you all.
There we go.
Can I ask
Your
you-
woohoo stands.
Can I ask a question about one item?
Yeah, of course.
LARCA? What's going on with the DARCA?
That's the deli.
Huh?
It's the deli.
The deli
The deli, yeah, I know, what's going on with it?
I don't have an update right now.
Okay, got it, okay.
I'd suggest that if you wanted to have a conversation regarding that item, that probably needs to be an executive session.
Tony, I'll ask you.
All right. We are going to move on to item J, Quarterly Secretary's Report, and Director Cannon. And before we get started, just want to say that I was really impressed by this report. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much. I will just walk through kind of what the report says, but before I get started, just a huge thank you to Brittany for all of the work that she's done. She really makes this role so easy. So thank you so much. So thank you for all your help preparing this, Brittany. So a little bit of a format change to the quarterly report for the secretary, but so that we didn't have too much change too fast, you still have the old format as well. Easing transitions. So in the restructured format for the secretary's report, I'm hoping it will make it easier for the board to keep track of how we're moving forward with motions and the progress we're making. So we now have our open motions split into 4 categories. Ones we've closed in the quarter, items that are ready for board action, so items that all work outside of what needs to be done by the board has wrapped up and we can agendize those and make decisions. And then open items which still have further action required before they're ready to come back to the board. And finally, included in this report are consensus recommendations, but they will be rolling off for the next report. And we're going to transition to them to an internal tracking spreadsheet that Peter and I are going to work on, so it's not confused with formal motions. So instead, it'll be an informal list that will be available to the board on the shared drive. Peter and I will talk after every meeting and make sure that we're tracking anything that needs to be updated on that, but it'll be a little more of a living document and less a formal report, as is appropriate for items that didn't have a formal vote in the board meetings. But board members will still be able to see that list and provide feedback on it. So it's not going anywhere, just not going to be included in the formal report. So each section in the report has its own table with its current status. So for closed items, the action that closed it out. For open items, what the current status is. For ready to agendize items or ready for action items, those are items where you can see the last step that was taken that now makes it ready for the board to hear, as well as when we're planning on hearing it, if that is an upcoming scheduled date. And we are now including metrics at the start of report. So I just wanted to highlight, we've closed 20 items this quarter. We've added 7 new items that we're tracking. We have 9 items that are ready for board action and 29 items that are still open. Of those 29 items, there are 3 that are ongoing items. So we are indefinitely receiving quarterly reports on them. So that might be something the board wants to think about. Do we want to set an end date or do we want to transition them somewhere? I'll just highlight those items for the board. It's item 35, item 3 deferred, and item 35 deferred. And the item numbers correspond to the larger tracking spreadsheet, just so that if you want the full reference, you have it. But it might be worth us having conversation as a board on how we want to handle those items where we're just repeatedly receiving quarterly reports. Beyond that, I think we can move forward to discussion on the report, and I'd welcome your feedback on it, but those are the updates I wanted to provide.
Director Santa?
Thank you. This is awesome. The one that I'd like to talk about is on page 9, item 3, which is in regards to our board resolutions. I would welcome general counsel updating resolutions and bringing them forward to the board as needed. This has been pending for many years now. So I just wanted to stress the importance of that on my behalf.
I'm happy to do it. It was previously the baby of a prior board member, and we never got too far with it. My process before it was taken up in that way was to bring resolutions one or two every couple of meetings for updating. Happy to look, I've spoken with Peter with this, and I've spoken with several directors on this. If there's metrics that you'd like, set a goal and we'll get there. Otherwise, I kind of do it on what's most important first, and some of the other ones that are less important but still important get their own place in the line. So I'm happy to carry out whatever the board wants. However, because it was a board motion, if you're going to change it, you need to rescind it, amend it, something along those lines.
I'm happy with you to prioritize which resolutions you want to flag for us to say, hey, they need to be modernized. I've heard different boards talk about this before. I think it might be right for discussion. But either we close this one out or we continue to work on it. But what I can tell is that this one's sort of laid flat for a while. So I'm just trying to figure out how does one revive it and keep it in continuous work stream.
If I can add, I've had several past members of this board, bring this up to me and suggest that we put together a group that consists of former members of the board to provide review and advice on how to make updates. I thought this was an interesting idea, and I thought this would be a good time to bring it up, and I'm nervous about bringing it up. I understand there can be significant pushback from this, but I think this is as good a time as any to discuss it.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Mr. Champ, is moving this forward as far as, is the issue language, is the issue grammar, punctuation, wordsmithing? What is do you feel the need to have the board doing it versus you doing it and bringing it to us?
Well, I always appreciate the board's input. It's worked pretty well before when I was just handling it on my own, because you ultimately have the ability to change it when I bring it to you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What has constrained me in doing this is the existence of this motion that said I would work with this specific director and follow this process. So as a result, unless something was really pending, it didn't come to this board. If we take it off the block, then I'll just add it as a work item for me to do. And again, if Pete has a metric that he would like to see as part of my goals, you want 100 resolutions done in a year? Okay, serve at the pleasure.
Just based on the language, we could change Director Lanz's name to Flashman, and then he could work with me. And we would be fine.
No, Mr. President, needs to be Director Mullenix, because he's not here.
Oh, right.
Or Director
Lepar.
Lepar,
Exactly.
right.
May I make a motion?
Please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have something to say, go ahead.
No, let her make her motion.
okay.
It'll fit.
Go ahead, Margaret.
I would like to move that number 3 under next steps, which I'll come back to my comments on that, but number 3 under next steps be closed with the understanding that the work will proceed under Mr. Champ to be brought forward with regularity.
Is there a second? Motion's made and seconded. Discussion or comment? Director Farrell.
So, Mr. President, I'm going to vote against the motion, and I'll explain. Most of these resolutions were written by Mr. Champ's predecessor, who was getting paid by the hour. And the net result was the resolutions kept getting, the whereas clauses kept getting longer and longer and longer and longer. And the feedback I gave former Director Flashman and our general counsel is, whereas provisions don't count. The courts of Virginia ignore them. The thing that counts starts after the word now therefore. And my inclination is that, or my suggestion to both former Director Flashman and the general counsel is, now therefore needs to be on the first page. We don't need all the whereas clauses. They don't count. A court ignores them. What the court pays attention to is the words from after, now therefore. And the now therefore language needs to be on the first page so that a member or a staff member looking at what the board has instructed, because remember, those resolutions don't bind us. Resolutions bind our staff and bind our members. And those directions need to happen on the first page, at least start on the first page. So I'm not inclined to close out the item because I believe we still need to revise our resolutions to clean them up. The other reason I know that Director Flashman wanted to do this is that we have inconsistencies in termination, in terms and provisions between the resolutions. Many of those inconsistencies are in the whereas clause, which, oh, by the way, don't count. So I get why it's being done. I don't want it to come off because I want us to be looking at it on a quarterly basis to say, when are we getting the next batch of resolutions, Council? And if it's not here, I'm concerned that it disappears. So I don't want to close it out. I want it there on an ongoing basis. There are other things that we have on an ongoing basis. Reaching out to the owners of the multifamily units, new ones. That's ongoing. I'm not interested in closing them out. So we have ongoing stuff. In my observation, the reason we have this quarterly report is things got dropped through the cracks. Initiatives that the board wanted, our prior boards wanted, disappeared. And somebody would ask the question a year and a half later and said, well, what happened with that? And, you know, there was a bunch of us standing around the room going like this. We don't know. By having it on the quarterly report, even though it's ongoing, is a way of prompting somebody to say, what are we doing? What's happened? So I can't support, I understand the intention, but I can't support the motion.
Can I just respond to that? I'm not against the majority of what you've said there. I would encourage Mr. Champ to move forward with that. Mr. Champ specifically just said the language in this motion is preventing him from moving forward. So if you want a motion that gets us moving, then let's close this one and make a new one.
Or we could simply move to amend that motion to remove the reference to Director Flashman. And that gets something out of the way, gets an impediment out of the way, and keeps the item on it. And if I'd happy to offer that as a substitute motion if you're inclined. If you're inclined.
Second.
Yeah, I don't care. Just
Okay.
this
Substitute motion. Discussion, comments about the substitute motion? I see none. All in favor?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I still don't think that gets us where we want. If the motion is simply to remove Director Flashman's name, there's nothing in here about a quarterly report to my reading or any sort of metrics. So if that's your concern, we're not actually addressing that. And we also have a motion that's been sitting open for 4 years. It kind of makes sense to me to restart a clock and be clear in our language in terms of what we want, if that's what we want.
Speaking to the question that was posed, What I meant by the quarterly report is by keeping it on this quarterly report, well, that would be the quarterly follow-up. By having it in our quarterly report and reported every quarter, we're in a position to say, what's happened? And if we close it out, we won't be prompted to ask the question, okay, what's happened? That's why I want to keep it on the quarterly report. And I'm happy to take out the reference to Director Flashman.
But if all we're saying is what happened, we're not setting any timeline for when we're going to review resolutions. Like, how are we going to make time for it in our agendas? Do we want to have, say, one meeting a quarter where reviewing resolutions and so you're able to prepare? Or do we want to say each meeting we want to review 5 resolutions? I mean, right now, all we have is a check in a quarterly report that says, did we do a resolution this quarter or did we not? There's no, like, is this meant to refer to completing one pass through all the resolutions, in which case we should have a list of all the resolutions and be checking off when we completed them? I don't think that the current amendment we have is going to provide any more steps towards actually closing this out.
Mr. Chan.
Here are my thoughts.
Can you get closer to the mic?
Here are my thoughts. I hear what you're saying, and I agree with most of it, but I think right now there's an unknown, which is what does your schedule look like going forward? For instance, you have design review guidelines that have been pending for a while that are going to probably take a whole meeting. A resolution, one resolution could take a whole meeting. 5 resolutions could take a whole meeting. So I think what I would suggest comes out tonight is remove the motion as it stands. I've never let you guys down before. I'm happy to move forward in the interim, but then have a real discussion with whatever the agenda setting body is about what is a reasonable amount of resolutions to bring and when. Budget season, probably not a good time for my resolutions to come through.
Actually, that's when I want them all.
Fair enough. So that would be my suggestion is, I'll get back to work on them. We did do some work.
You did?
So there is work, John, I hear you about the whereas clauses. I'd like to talk to you about that because I like them purely for the audience that they're intended for, not for legal enforceability, but it maps out for staff, like if you have further questions, it says that we derive this authority from the deed section here. So it's kind of like a
roadmap,
an index for where to go. I hear you. I'll talk to you some more about it, but if the board, if my instructions are, Tony, get back to work on our resolutions review tonight, then Tony will be back to work on the resolution review, and then this board can decide when they would like to take them up.
Okay,
Sounds great.
thank you. So we're going to take the vote on the substitute motion. All in favor?
Of removing Flashman's name? Sure, whatever. Whatever gets us.
Aye.
Okay, that's 3 in favor. Against? 1, 2 against, and abstention. 2 abstentions. The motion does not carry. So we're back to the original motion.
I motion that this motion,
We still have the motion on the table for Margaret.
what was your motion again?
To close this out and tell Tony to get to work.
Great, second. I seconded it, right?
That was already made and seconded, but thank you for thirding it.
This is
all right.
such a process.
No further
nonsense.
Yeah, I really hate substitute motions. We've talked about this. All right, all in favor?
Ow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In favor, against?
Nay.
2 against, and no abstentions, 5-2. Motion carries. Tony, get to work. Nice. All right. Any other, Director Perry?
I just had this looks great, thank you. I'm sure it was a collaboration. The comments I have are very superficial, okay? I noticed that here you have, on the summary, you have closed, newly added, ready for action, still open. And interestingly enough, those are in different colors. It would be great if the tops could match. So this ready for action, like if the header was gold, just to make it very clear, like this is the page I'm looking at for that. And then the other couple notes I had was, for example, you have final action written here. I'd love to just see, closed, ready for board action, and then next steps appears to be open. I think the language you use to describe it doesn't match the language at the top of my papers, and not that I wasn't able to follow along, but if we're going to use open, then let's just use open. You can keep the clarification for next steps, but again, very superficial, but I think it would make it very clean, very easy to ooh, we're talking about open, cool, I'm on this page type of a thing. That's all.
Okay. Dr. Farrell.
I mentioned this to my good friend, our secretary, regarding the landscape version of the document. It suggests that the incoming executive director of the Austin Economic Development Authority would be working on some of these items, and we probably need to change that.
Could we move that any reference to
I don't need a motion. I'm
Mac just get changed to CEO?
Yeah.
And then if it's changed to CEO, then it affects anyone in that position?
The Control F motion. All right. All right, we are good to go. We are back to item K with Mr. Vroom, annual audit.
Okay, the annual audit, so that has been completed by our public accounting firm, Forrest Mazars. The audited financial statements are in your packet. There have been a couple real minor tweaks to those since then. The Finance Committee reviewed these last night in their meeting, and prior to the meeting, a couple of Finance Committee members had a couple tweaks that they wanted, so those have been made. And as just a reminder, we do publish these on the reston.org public website once they're fully complete, so they will be available to all members. But the audit was completed. Chair Kerr from the Finance Committee did send a message to the board early this afternoon, just letting you all know that the Finance Committee had reviewed it last night. And he reported, and I put the slides in the packet as well, that it was a clean audit opinion with no significant issues. I mean, it's unmodified, they call it clean audit opinion, and no issues of note. And he reported that the committee voted unanimously to recommend to the board accepting the results, and we proposed a motion to do so, but happy to take any questions on it.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to accept the 2025 audit.
Any objections? I see none. Accepted, thank you.
Can I ask unanimous consent to include Chairman Kerr's email in the minutes for the record?
Any objection to that? I see none. Thank you.
And just one thing I forgot to mention is that we will have the 990 tax return in the July meeting. So we'll be briefing the Finance Committee in their July meeting and then have that for you all after that.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I move to convene an executive session to consult with legal counsel and to discuss contractual and personnel matters.
Second.
There's motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That's 6 against.
Sorry, aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
I was trying to get my button ready.
All right, we're good to go. Thank you very much.
This is Peter Lusk, Acting CEO for the Reston Association. This is your CEO update for the June 25th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Directors. Our first conversation piece this evening is the Condition Assessment Program update. Many will remember that in 2025, the association completed facility condition assessments, which were then included into the capital improvement plan. Included on this slide are updates related to the status of projects related to the condition assessment program, and we're excited to report that many are complete and a few are planned for after pool season. One of the staff KPIs for 2026 is execution rates of projects from the CIP that were included in condition assessments, and we look forward to continuing a successful year in this program. Our next topic is the tennis reservation system. Staff have been working towards a pilot program and are ready to begin the pilot program in summer 2026. The pilot program will take place at Newbridge and North Hills courts, and the next slide will talk through the process for reserving a court this summer. Using our online system, anyone who wishes to make a court reservation can look at the calendar on the tennis webpage, log into their account, reserve the court slot, and then we will ask for feedback at the end of the program. We know that this has been a topic for the board for many years, and we're looking forward to providing some preliminary data at the end of the summer. Another ongoing project is our deer management survey. Here on this slide, you can see the species that were included in the browse survey that was done this spring. A second browse survey is planned for this fall or early 2027. Staff have been working with the Environmental Advisory Committee to collect data and have been reporting to the EAC throughout the project. The board can look for an update on this project late this fall. As we continue to move through pool season, staff are committed to reporting to the Board of Directors usage for each pool season. You can see on this slide, 2026 compared to 2025 has less funded pool hours, less open pool hours, but over 700 more visits in Season 1. Season 2 just ended, and staff are planning to bring this data to the meeting on June 25th. We're continuing to report on our Pass to Play initiative. This is passes sold to non-members throughout the year. You can see on this slide that in 2025, we collected just over $250,000 in revenue from selling non-member passes. Year to date in 26, we're around $230,000. This means that we're tracking to surpass 2025 revenue very early in the year. This is a good sign that the Pass to Play program is working for us. For our member recreation pass activation, you can see that we've activated more passes in 2026 than we have in the previous 3 years. Staff are excited to report that the new process of being able to renew your recreation pass at the time of paying your assessment is paying dividends, and we look forward to seeing more of our members at our pools and tennis courts this summer. Staff have been asked to provide ongoing updates related to the Dogwood Splash Pad and Pavilion, as many members have come to the board to discuss this issue. Just a few updates. The grill at the Pavilion has been removed. This has resulted in less issues related to fire and less of a mess related to fire at the Pavilion. A bucket has also been added to the Pavilion for those who bring their own grill. The lights are turned off in the evening unless there is a rental to help deter behavior at the Pavilion after dark. The RA team is on site daily between 8 and 8:30 to clean, pick up trash, and perform repairs, and we keep a daily log of conditions. New rules and signboards have been installed, and the Pavilion has been deep cleaned multiple times this year. Here on this slide, you can see some of the new installations and the cleanliness of the splash pad. We're continuing to visit each day, and we look forward to continuing to work with the community on this important initiative this summer. Another ongoing initiative is the proposed Barton Hill Crosswalk. At the April 30th meeting of the board, staff provided an update on the Barton Hill Crosswalk project. At that time, staff committed to conducting engagement with the community, and that engagement has been completed. There was a recorded PowerPoint that was put on the website. People were solicited to provide comments. Some of those comments are on this slide. There are a few comments on the next slide as well. Overall, the comments are positive. People are excited to see a proposed improvement on Barton Hill Road. Some of the comments include this being a safer solution, that this is a good improvement, and people are excited to see the trails connected to the new proposed crosswalk. People have also expressed that they're excited that the proposal is a flush crosswalk and isn't related to a speed hump. Next steps in the project are for staff to continue to work with VDOT for approvals. That process is ongoing. And should the project be approved, we will then bid a contract to install the crosswalk and relocate the trails, hopefully in Q3 or Q4 of 2026. From time to time, staff hear about wanting to educate our members related to items going on in the association. Over the last few weeks, I thought it would be prudent to highlight a few of these campaigns that are going on through our communications department. The first is related to sharing the trail safely, motorized scooters and vehicles on our pathways. Staff are hearing from our membership related to this issue quite often. We're first now going through an educational process, and we'll then move into perhaps some signage or enforcement down the road. We've heard over the last month or so about pesticides and herbicides and how we apply them. We've run another story on the website related to this topic. And lastly, there was an educational piece related to not feeding wildlife and the resolutions related to feeding wildlife and the detriment that it can have to our community. Again, I'd like to highlight that these were 3 great pieces put together by our communications department to help educate our members and have information available when needed. From time to time, staff hear about the availability of resources for clusters within the association. I wanted to highlight in the CEO update that available on the RA webpage is the Cluster Resource Hub. The hub contains items such as guidelines, policy resolutions, insurance information, and example applications. There are also many recordings, documents, maps, and flipbooks that are available for review. The link to this hub is right here on this slide and can be found on the RA homepage under Resources. I'd also like to highlight that the Covenants Department is going to hold a cluster and condominium board leadership training this fall, September 26th. This will include practical guidance, real-world examples, and collaborative discussion related to leading your community. You can follow the link on this slide to register or contact the Covenants Department for more information. Lastly, just some updates on land use projects that staff and the board are tracking. Recently, the board of directors has provided recommendation letters for the Lake Fairfax Business Park, Roland Clark Place, and Isaac Newton Square cases. And staff are tracking many of the applications on this page to come to the Planning Commission in summer or early fall 2026. Additionally, there are many land use community meetings upcoming that the board should be aware of. The Reston Town Center North Town Hall took place this week on June 16th. Next week, the Lake Fairfax Business Park community meeting will take place at 7 p.m. on June 22nd. And then Roland Clark Place, the Crescent Apartments, west of Wheelie and east of Wheelie will have upcoming community meetings that staff will make the board aware of. Thank you so much for listening. I'm looking forward to talking about all of these topics on June 25th.
Hello, I am Cam Adams, Director of Covenants Administration, and along with Megan McCosey, the Community Outreach Manager, we will be providing our second quarter 2026 Cluster Outreach Update. Walkthroughs are cluster or condominium association-wide exterior lot inspections with the purpose of addressing systemic maintenance or design issues within an association. Staff collaborate with the association board and work together to plan and execute this offering. The Coquina Cluster Walkthrough inspection is in full swing as inspections of each member's property and cluster common area were released on April 2nd, 2026. Outreach staff has been simultaneously deploying a variety of member outreach and communication events and opportunities. Staff hosted an in-person open house and distributed door tags in February. We had a virtual open house in March and 2 more in-person drop-in events in April and May. Staff will continue with reminder postcards being sent this month and door hangers reminding residents of our upcoming re-inspections in August. Our main driver of information to our cluster and condominium associations is our Cluster Connect newsletter. Our latest issue was released on June 16th and included articles written by our team on various topics such as our new and exciting offering, the Board Leadership Training Program, which I'll get into later this evening, expanding our condominium outreach with Committee Curious, how to engage volunteers and spread out the large work of running an association, call for updates to the cluster and condo directory, highlighting our return of summer office hours for members to drop by and receive general assistance, a recap of our 2026 legal seminar, Inspections 101, earlier this April, many grants being available for invasive control, understanding easements, and the latest on the trash collection and hauler updates from 2025. If you aren't on our distribution list, email us today. All RA members can request to be on this distribution list. Upcoming tentative 2026 publication dates include August 25th, October 13th, and December 8th. Covenant's outreach program has been picking up momentum and continuing to deliver value to the community with our premier offering of the Show and Tell Cluster and Condo walking tours. Meeting with Cluster and Condo Association leaders and stakeholders on the ground in their neighborhood to discuss, observe, and troubleshoot all manners of issues and concerns is still staff's most effective tool for connecting with association leaders and Cluster and Condo Association members. We continue to bring it back to elementary school, which is the formation of the show and tell aspect, and encourage association leaders to show us their clusters and tell us their problems. Common considerations and topics of conversation during show and tells include cluster and condo standards, Ruston Association and county complaint processes, board governance best practices, how to navigate the design review board, and common area management. Covenant staff is extremely proud of the relationships established through show and tells with cluster leaders who had not previously scheduled one, and one of the repeat customers that have requested multiple walking tours over the past 6 years in order to keep lines of communication strong and substantial. Covenant staff continues to work closely with cluster boards to ensure that all standards reflect the current preferences of member property owners. Standard updates reflect an individual member's ability to reference the standards, source the permitted element, whether that's a light fixture, color choice, or deck material, and move more easily through the process of enhancing the exterior of their homes. Suffice it to say, the more standards are updated, the more opportunity members within the clusters or condominiums have to reduce the need for a DRB application or delay moving forward with their projects. Outreach staff consistently works on a dedicated cycle of communicating updated opportunities for cluster boards and then work with them to support the cluster in crafting the necessary standard update, submitting the required DRB application, navigating the design review process, and disseminating the updated standard through the flipbook to the cluster members. At present, staff are auditing the standard books and drafting recommendations for revisions, encouraging boards to consider more broad or flexible language to be incorporated into the standards. Due to project limitations or product limitations and market changes, the typical standard of requiring a specific light fixture or allowing color matches versus exact brand manufacturer are being encouraged. Colonial Green Cluster, Inlet Cluster, Soapstone Cluster, and Weatherstone Cluster are just a few of the clusters that have successfully updated their association standard in the second quarter of this year. Our cluster and condo directory is officially 2 years old, and we are excited to make this deliverable available to members. As a reminder, we rely on cluster and condo association volunteers to regularly update their contact information and respond to inquiries by Covenant staff on any changes. Updates occur on or around the first of the month each month. The directory contains general contact emails and management company information for those associations that have provided their information to be posted. Participation in this online resource is optional. Staff continues to follow the established SOP for collecting information and continues to proactively collect real-time information as opposed to waiting for cluster condominiums to respond. Those methods include confirming contacts and board position when submitting a DRB application for cluster standards or cluster common area, adding term expirations and annual meeting dates to our internal roster to ensure staff capture changes as they happen, and finally, adding a link for association leaders to update contacts to all cluster outreach communications. Covenant staff continues collection of each cluster association's current certificate of insurance. This process, which includes association contact, collation, and certificate log updating, has been operationally routinized in accordance with the detailed SOP established by Covenant staff. Our 2026 calendar of outreach events showcases an exciting selection of educational opportunities. Starting in quarter 2, our first meet and greet for association leaders was held on April 27th, with the topic being Inspections 101. We often like to review how the inspections at RA work, who is involved, the type of inspections conducted, and what happens when the inspections are completed. This event had more than 20 cluster and condo leaders in attendance. Our latest meet and greet, held this month, focused on our annual legal seminar. We had over 60 attendees. We host this annual review to provide association leaders with legislation or laws that will impact community associations either July 1st or in the not-so-distant future. Topics range from common area encroachments, amending governing documents, common interest community board complaint procedures, and the most recent legislation concerning new balcony solar technology. As always, any of our events held virtually are recorded and posted, along with a copy of the presentation, on the Cluster Resource Hub for anyone who may have missed it to watch later. Covenant staff continues to find ways to engage and educate both residents and association leaders. We continue to showcase the available resources created specifically to help educate and support our members navigating all of the processes within the Covenants department. Currently, we have multiple quick guides created specifically to inform, educate, and add transparency through the following processes: Quick Guide to the Covenants Committee, Quick Guide to the Legal Committee, Quick Guide to Complaints, RA resale process, the buyer side, and RA resale process, the seller side. And finally, the Member's Guide to the Covenants Department, which provides a larger and more in-depth review of the Covenants process and includes which department is responsible for each action. Additionally, there is one large repository of information, compiled resources made available to all cluster and condominium leaders called the Cluster Resource Hub, located on the RA website. This document and file forum is aimed at housing all of the things cluster and condominium related. We are actively working to increase visibility and access to this amazing resource. Looking forward to sharing more updates on this progress in quarter 3. We have 2 remaining events for the 2026 calendar for outreach programming. For August 17th, we invite all members, owners, and cluster condominium association leaders to join our virtual event aimed at learning simple ways to make your home and community more sustainable. We will share more information in the coming weeks and look forward to partnering with our environmental team to share best or common practices or products. To wrap up the end of the year, we will again hold our open house social on November 9th. This event will be in person and aimed at Cluster and Condominium Association volunteers who can see the highlights of all of the accomplishments throughout this year, network and connect with their fellow association leaders, and for us to give a big thank you for all that they do. Stay tuned for updated registration and attendance information. Our large event this year will be spreading education and information through a new program which we've coined the Board Leadership Program. This free in-person learning opportunity is designed specifically for current and future community association leaders, whether you are currently serving on your board, considering future service, or simply looking to better understand how your association operates. This training is designed to provide meaningful real-world information that supports effective governance and stronger community partnerships. Broken into 2 separate sessions on Saturday, September 26th, Session 1 will focus on governance, board roles and responsibilities, financial management, and meetings and communications. Session 2 will focus on the relationship between Reston Association and clusters and condominiums, DRB processes, design guidelines and standards, inspections and compliance, and Reston Association resources for clusters and condominiums. Registration is live now. We are limited in space to 70 spots, so if you're interested, please visit www.reston.org/BLT today to register and save your spot. Attendees will receive a hard copy of our newest offering, the Cluster Handbook. If you cannot attend in person, an in-depth recap and all resources will be shared digitally on the Cluster Resource Hub. Finally, we are providing a small update on our outreach strategic plan based on themes of expansion, relationship building, and customer responsiveness. Staff has already begun implementation of the Covenant's 2026 to 2028 outreach strategic plan. Major initiatives include rolling association board training opportunities that consistently engage new and returning cluster and condominium board members, which you can see from the board leadership training program for September 26, 2026. Expanding outreach and educational opportunities for members and cluster leaders. Creating a unique non-assessment revenue stream by selling advertising space in the Cluster Connect newsletter. Promoting a more customer-centric culture through regular staff trainings rooted in best practices in customer service, excellence, member communication, and engagement. And connecting with comparable associations for the purpose of comparing outreach tactics. Looking forward to showcasing more updates in Q3 and Q4 later this year. As always, thank you for listening, and if any member has any questions or is looking for support from either myself or Megan or any other member of our team, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ed Vroom, RA CFO, with the finance update for the RA Board of Directors meeting on June 25th, 2026. This update covers actuals through May 2026 compared to the budget and compared to last year. As shown on the dashboard, for the period ending May 31st, year-to-date revenue is $3,000 above budget, with an unbudgeted land use proffer offsetting camps which are currently below budget, but we expect that to catch up. Operating expenses are $647,000 below budget year-to-date, driven by staffing vacancies and some other costs pushing right. It's still early in the year and we have not yet done our initial forecast for year-end, but we expect expenses to largely catch up. The association's cash position remains strong. Some more detail on revenue. Camps is currently showing $131,000 below budget year-to-date, but $34,000 above last year at the same time. Since we are ahead of last year's pace and signups have been strong, and the full year budget for this year is less than last year's actuals, we expect to catch up to budget. Also in January, we received a $105,000 land use proffer for a small piece of RA land that VDOT took over. This could change up or down pending further legal action, but it is unlikely we'll see any change on it any sooner than 2027. We consulted with our accounting firm Forbes, who confirmed that we should book this revenue with a note in the financial statements that it could change. Collectively, department operating expenses are $647,000 below the budget year-to-date, with staffing vacancies in natural areas and capital driving some of the variance. For natural areas, part is the open director position, along with 2 open arborist positions and 1 other open position too. Eventually, we may have some offsetting additional professional and tech support costs if we outsource some of the arborist work that would have normally been done by RA staff. Aquatics is running under primarily due to chlorine and other chemical costs pushing right. Lakes, ponds, streams is running under due to cost pushing right, including rec supplies, dam consultation, and lakes maintenance. Functionally, people costs are $267,000 below budget year-to-date, driven by vacancies. We currently have 9 full-time staffing vacancies. Other expenses are down $380,000 year-to-date, but we anticipate this will catch up. The other category, which is down, includes janitorial supplies, landscaping supplies, plumbing supplies, construction materials and supplies, office supplies, and electric supplies, which are all running under budget year-to-date, but we expect to catch up later in the year. Moving to capital, as of the end of May, RA had a total of restricted cash and investments for capital of a little over $8 million, with $7.86 million in RRF funds and $202,000 in CARF funds. To date in 2026, a little over $2 million has been spent for capital, with an estimated additional $2.8 million in budgeted projects to be completed in 2026 and beyond. Of note is that we've already spent more in 2026 on capital projects than we did in all of 2025, as we've been completing the 2025 projects that carried forward, as well as new 2026 projects. We've also had favorable project variances of a little over $400,000, as projects have been coming in under budget, including the North Hills White Coat project, New Bridge and Tall Oaks Plumbing, and Hook Road Phase 2. The capital reserve is now a little over $5.2 million, up $0.4 million from last month, mainly due to the favorable project variance. Nothing really to note at this time on the balance sheet. Cash available to fund operations and meet current and future capital project needs remains strong. Thank you, and that is the conclusion of the finance update.
All right, we're back from executive session. Director Farrell, you've got some motions.
Move that the Reston Association Board of Directors certify to the best of each member's knowledge that only those matters appropriate for executive session of a contractual nature involving personnel matters involving consultation with counsel were discussed or considered by the board during executive session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Mr. President, I move to ratify and approve the personnel decisions reached in executive session as it pertains to the CEO position.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Mr. President, I move to authorize staff to bind the insurance policies for the 2026-2027 renewal period.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, and thirded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous?
Mr. President, I move to direct staff to transmit a letter to the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors regarding the Reston Town Center Central Green as discussed in executive session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? That is 6 in favor and against and abstaining.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to call a special meeting at 5:30 on July 23rd, 2026 for the purpose of accepting public input regarding the Lake Fairfax Business Park rezoning.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? 6 against,
Nay.
6-1. Motion carries.
Mr. President, I move to adopt the agenda for the regular board meeting of July 23rd, 2026 as published in our materials for this evening's meeting, with the addition that after item K, we add land use matters as a placeholder.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I think, Mr. President, that is everything. That is all the pending business.
All right. Now brings us to item M, new business. Who's got new business? I see and hear no new business, and that takes us to item O, adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Have a great